Hello, my name is Haley Tillett, and today we'll be discussing music educator retention. How do we keep music teachers in schools? It is no secret that teacher retention is a major issue in the world of education, but this issue is especially prevalent specifically in the field of music education. Every day, there are more and more teachers electing to leave their classrooms or even the profession as a whole. This high turnover rate of music teachers could potentially create a multitude of problems in the school environment, including instability for students, lower quality teachers, potential lower student enrollment in performance classes, and a variance of teaching techniques, which could lead to instability of performance expectations and therefore leading to lower student achievement. These are all major issues that would heavily contribute to the decline of music programs everywhere, and it's vital to confront the issue of low music teacher retention in order to prevent these issues from occurring. This leads to an extremely important question. Why are so many music teachers leaving their programs or the profession as a whole? There are multitudes of studies on the reason for teachers leaving their classrooms, both music and non music related. Consistently among music teachers and non music teachers, studies conclude that stressful working conditions, low salary, and lack of administrative support all greatly contribute to the mass exodus of teachers from their classrooms. It's vital that school systems, administrators, veteran teachers, and new teachers all work together to confront these issues head on and keep teachers satisfied with their careers, thus helping solve the teacher retention issue. This leads us to possibly the most important question. What specific actions can the educational community take to support these music educators in their programs, keeping them motivated and satisfied in their career? If the community does not find solutions to these problems, they face the serious consequence of a potentially dwindling music educator population. To better understand the process and importance of music educator retention and support, it is vital for us to explore the statistics of teacher retention, determine the causes of teachers leaving the profession, and most importantly, develop solutions to these problems that the teachers face that lead them to make the hard decision to leave the classroom. Over the years, there have been studies upon studies conducted to gather data on the issue of teacher retention. Across all school subjects and grade levels, an alarming number of teachers make the difficult decision to leave the classroom every year. Nationally, it is estimated that schools consistently face the prospect of filling roughly 500,000 vacancies created by 15% of teachers leaving their placement or the profession altogether. It's also important to note that one of the largest populations of educators choosing to leave the profession are new teachers, relatively fresh out of their undergraduate studies. A 1999 survey showed that around 20% of all new teachers leave the profession after only 3 years, and around 50% quit after 5 years. It's undeniable that these are alarming statistics for the educational community. Recent findings show that these teacher retention problems are not only relevant in the regular academic classroom, but also in music classrooms as well. According to studies done by the National Association for Music Education and the National Association for Schools of Music, more than 5,000 music teaching positions remain unfilled every year, and new music education college graduates can typically only meet roughly half of that demand. Unfortunately, specifically new music educators fresh out of their undergrad studies tend to leave the classroom very quickly after entering the profession. Statistics show that 34% of recent music education graduates leave the teaching profession within 6 years of entering it. It's extremely disheartening to see so many new music educators experience the feeling of burnout so quickly and desire to leave the profession entirely. It's vitally important for the educational community surrounding these new educators to support them and provide them with the tools needed to comfortably transition from an undergraduate music student to an effective and confident music teacher. When faced with these bleak statistics on teacher retention, one must begin to wonder why so many teachers are eager to leave their profession behind. According to studies done over recent years, there are a few common themes among teachers that are electing to leave their classrooms. Shared among both music teachers and non music teachers, stressful working conditions, inadequate salaries, and a lack of administrative or community support are three major factors that contribute to their decision. According to a survey conducted by the National Center for Education Statistics, over 60% of teachers leaving the profession did so due to, quote, dissatisfaction with several elements of their job, end quote. Additional studies showed that the teacher dissatisfaction included factors like poor student behavior, physical exhaustion, poor resources, vague goals, and excessive paperwork. Clearly, there are a multitude of issues the educational community needs to confront in order to better support teachers and make them want to stay in the field of music education. One of the most glaring issues for teachers that leads them to ultimately leave the profession is a high level of stress that could potentially lead to burnout. Many people oftentimes consider stress and burnout to be one and the same, but there's a distinct difference between the two, with excessive stress potentially leading into burnout. Stress is defined as a physical, mental, or emotional factor that causes bodily or mental tension. Stress includes both physical and mental reactions and can vary in levels of seriousness. At its worst, stress can lead to headaches, high blood pressure, irritability, and even depression. However, burnout is defined by three distinct components: emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and reduced personal accomplishment. Again, burnout is typically caused by high levels of stress, so it's not the same thing as stress. The frequent experience of excessively high levels of stress typically leads into burnout, which for teachers could mean dissatisfaction with their job, leading to their exit from the profession. Unfortunately, research shows that music educators are at a high risk of experiencing high stress levels. According to Krista Cauble, assistant professor of music education at the University of Central Arkansas, Conway, reported sources of stress for music teachers that potentially lead to burnout include lack of training, administrative support, and appropriate funding. These deficits are further imbalanced by an overwhelming workload, long hours, and challenging classroom situations. All these factors could contribute to the excessively high level of stress experienced by many music educators everywhere. Well known to most people involved in the field of education, teacher salaries are also major contributors to teacher dissatisfaction in the classroom. Often, teachers work longer hours than their contracted time, spend their own money on classroom expenses, and take on responsibilities outside of teaching their assigned subject, all done without being paid adequately for their work. According to the new Handbook of Research on Music Teaching and Learning, teachers average an annual salary of around $40,000, which is somewhat above the national average, but also well below the salaries of other careers that require similar education and training. For example, public school teachers' salaries are generally roughly one fourth to one fifth of those of a doctor, roughly one third of a lawyer, and about one half of an educational administrator. People who enter the field of education don't typically do so for the salary, but because they're passionate about teaching and they're eager to work with students. Although they view the profession of teaching in such a positive light, it's easy to see how a teacher, especially one new to the field, can begin to view their work as undervalued when they compare their pay to that of other professionals. This would seem to be especially relevant for music educators, especially those that teach performance ensemble classes, like band, choir, or orchestra. These band directors, choir teachers, and orchestra conductors, especially, tend to work way beyond their contracted hours, holding after school rehearsals, evening concerts, and weekend performances, competitions, festivals, and so forth. Typically, these things are just expected of the music teachers, all usually without adequate pay for the additional work. Another contributing factor to educators leaving the profession is an unfortunate lack of administrative and community support. Although most members of the educational community agree that music education is important on a surface level, surveys have shown that many administrators, school officials, and even the general public do not truly hold music education at a high level of importance. In a survey comparing the relative importance of various school subjects, only 5% of the general public surveyed in the US considered music to be a subject that should definitely be taught in the K 12 curriculum. Within the community of United States school administrators, the typical consensus on music education appears to be similar to that of the general public. According to a 2007 survey of Ohio principals, 93% stated that they viewed music education positively. However, 71% of those same principals also ranked music lowest compared to other school subjects. This blatant disregard for music education is all too common in the United States, leading music educators everywhere to again see their work as undervalued. In severe cases, it could even lead these music teachers to feel that their career is on the chopping block. In John W. Sheeb's survey of various music educators, one participant wrote, quote, "One major problem in teaching music is always having to justify our existence to other teachers, administrators, and boards. I had the feeling that I was a second class program compared to math, reading, etc." This feeling is all too familiar for many music educators across the nation, unfortunately leading to more teachers leaving the field of music education altogether. The issues mentioned previously of high stress levels and burnout, low teacher salaries, and a lack of administrative support clearly contribute to the alarmingly large number of music teachers choosing to leave the profession. If the educational community values these educators, or even music education as a whole, it's vital that the school systems, administrators, veteran teachers, and new teachers work together and confront these issues head on. If specific actions are not taken to help keep teachers satisfied in their careers, the educational community runs the risk of a rapidly declining population of music teachers, thus, a decline in the quality of school music programs everywhere. One of the first and likely most important steps in keeping music teachers satisfied with their careers is to better prepare them for the job in their undergraduate studies. Studies have shown that teachers with more preparation are more likely to continue teaching, and teachers who completed a fast track degree program rather than a full 4.5 to 5 year program were more likely to leave the profession. There's so much expected of music teachers, and many first year teachers feel extremely overwhelmed by both the musical and educational demands of their job. It's vital that the educational community does a better job to prepare these future music educators for the realities of the profession they are about to face. Without adequate preparation, the transition from an undergraduate music student to an effective and competent music teacher can seem entirely too daunting for these new teachers to handle on their own. Within the first years of teaching, these new teachers are facing the obstacles created by limited pre service classroom experience, a school culture and environment that may be different than what they were prepared for, and facing these challenges isolated from other music educators. Collegiate music education programs need to make some major changes to help better prepare these educators for such issues. Primarily, undergrad music students need more experience being responsible for the classroom instruction. Many colleges have worked toward providing this for their undergraduate students by incorporating more field hours in the classes, and others have extended their music education program to include an additional semester of student teaching. Take, for example, Chapman University in Orange, California, where students complete a 4 year vocal or instrumental music degree, then enter a program through the university's School of Education where they take classes involving professional aspects of the career and a semester of student teaching for a 5th year of enrollment. This additional semester, with more emphasis on the practical application of their music and education knowledge, allows them to become more comfortable with teaching and managing the classroom. For in service educators, both music and non music alike, one of the most important aspects of their contentment in their career is feeling respected as a professional. It's entirely too common to hear a teacher complain of a lack of support in their school system. In many cases, policymakers in the schools tend to see courses through the lens of practicality. In other words, education's value is based on how well it provides skills needed for the workforce or for college. With this mindset, these policymakers and administrators may struggle to see how music classes benefit students in a practical sense, which leads them to undervalue the program and in turn the teacher as well. Because of this, music educators everywhere tend to feel that they constantly have to justify their line of work, so much so to the point that they may feel that their job is always hanging in the balance. In order to combat this issue, administrators in schools must begin to change their mindset. Music should not only be perceived based on its career or practical value. Music education is valuable and even vital for so many students, not just those who plan to pursue music as a career. Music classes are a creative and social outlet for students, and there are countless students who desperately need such an outlet. When administrators begin to see music as a vital part of the curriculum, they'll begin to treat music educators as the professionals that they are and with the respect that they deserve. Another specific action that needs to be taken involves the turnover rate of music educators and retention versus recruitment. It appears that rather than working to keep quality veteran music educators in their positions, school administrators are essentially spending more energy on recruiting new teachers to replace them when they inevitably leave. This is a very temporary solution because rather than hearing out these educators and making the changes they desire, they just bring in new hires that hopefully will not notice the issues for a few more years. However, what happens when the new teachers also get fed up with their conditions? Will they stick around and suffer through it, or will they too get burned out and leave the profession? This course of action just perpetuates the endless cycle of a high turnover rate for music teachers. The educational community must strive to make the changes that veteran teachers desire in order to keep them content in their careers. And this in turn will make the profession look even more appealing to the new teachers entering the field in the future, rather than essentially tricking them into taking a job that someone else felt too defeated to keep. Most notable among these desires of all music educators, and even non music educators, is the desire for an adequate salary for the teacher's level of work. It's no secret that teachers everywhere, both music and non music, are grossly underpaid for the hours of dedicated work that they put into their careers. The shockingly low salary leaves teachers feeling disrespected and undervalued, especially when compared to other professionals with similar education. As mentioned previously, teachers make salaries that are a fourth to a half less than other professionals. This is a staggering difference of pay between teachers and these other professionals, and it's easy to see why teachers feel disrespected by such a low salary. Many teachers work hours beyond their contracted time, spend their own money on classroom supplies and instruments, and take on other obligations in the school unrelated to their class curriculum, all done without adequate pay. Although these responsibilities go above and beyond what they're contractually obligated to do, teachers are essentially expected to do these things without any recognition or extra compensation. However, if these teachers were paid adequately for the amount of work that they do, many teachers would be much more satisfied with their careers. In conclusion, there are many factors that contribute to the devastating number of music teachers that leave the field every year. Primarily, stressful working conditions, low salary, and lack of administrative and community support are weighing heavily on these exhausted music teachers. These factors, among many others, are a slippery slope that leads to a mass exodus of music teachers from the profession. However, if the educational community will hear the cries of teachers everywhere and meet some of their demands, more teachers will remain satisfied in their careers and keep their positions. Essentially, undergraduate music education students need to be better prepared for the profession they are about to enter, and in service music teachers just want to be treated as respected professionals with a pay grade that reflects their level of work. It sounds simple, but it appears that the educational community has struggled with meeting these demands over the years. If the community does not strive to find solutions to these problems and work to keep music teachers content in their positions, they face the serious consequence of a potentially dwindling music educator population. It's so important that the educational community supports both new and veteran music educators in their careers and treats them with respect in order to keep the field of music education alive and well. So, I have a couple of questions here that I would like your input on as well. First of all, how can we help music teachers feel less isolated in their school communities? I mentioned earlier when talking about first year and essentially just young music teachers, they seem isolated within their schools because in a lot of schools, they are the only person with their qualifications, with their job, that are the music professionals in the schools. So, how can we help these teachers feel less isolated in their schools and more connected to other music teachers? Next, what actions can we take as educators to ensure that we ourselves are treated with professional respect? In other words, what can we do to keep from being walked all over, basically? What can we do to make sure that the things that we need are being met, that our needs are being met in the classroom and in our school communities?